You've purchased a sourdough starter, but what do you do when it arrives? We sell two types of starter, one being a fresh starter and one being a dehydrated starter, and I'm going to show you what you need to do when it arrives. So I'm going to start with the fresh starter. So when it arrives, it will come in a little pot like this, but every now and again the starter becomes incredibly active during transport and might explode out of the pot into a little bag, which is a food safe bag, and if that happens, it's perfectly fine. Just transfer over what you can. The quantity is not the important part, it's the bacteria that is in the starter that's going to make it lovely and bubbly and help you make beautiful bread. So before your starter arrives, you do need to make sure that you've got a couple of things. The first one is a jar. You're going to need a spatula, you're going to need some water without chlorine in it, that's the important part, and you're going to need some bread flour. Now I do recommend using a strong white bread flour that has a protein content of around 13 grams, and you can find that just on the side of the packet here. Go and have a look in your supermarket, see what you can find, but we also sell this in our shop as well. So what you're firstly going to do is get your scales out. That's incredibly important. With sourdough, we do weigh everything. So the first thing to do is, when you first start out, is weigh your jar. It's really, really helpful to know what your jar weighs, and that will come in handy in a little 400 grams, so that we can remember that for later. So in here, I do put in 30 grams, but the chance of you actually being able to scrape out 30 grams, because of course it's quite sticky, what we're actually looking for is about 25, to be honest, because we're going to feed it with 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water, which is then a 1 to 2 to 2 ratio. Because it's been in transit for a few days, there we go, put it in there. And then I'm going to feed it with 50 grams of water. It is important that we use one without chlorine, because chlorine likes to get rid of bacteria, and of course we're trying to grow bacteria in here, so we don't want anything with chlorine in it. So I'm just adding in 50 grams of water, there we go, and then 50 grams of flour. So then, once this has all been added in, we're going to stir it up, and then you need to put it somewhere nice and warm. It could be near a radiator or in an airing cupboard. We don't want to put it on an actual heat source, but we do want to put it somewhere warm, because starters like warmth. They grow really well when they're warm but not hot. So stir it up, and then in 24 hours time, we will then discard it back down to 50 grams and then feed it that way. So this is what you do when it first arrives, and then you need to decide, will you be doing a baking feed or a maintenance feed? So come back for another video about that, because that's a whole different subject, but that's what you need to do with it when it arrives. So we just need to pop the lid on that and then come back and see what it does. But I'm going to show you what you need to do with the dehydrated one now. So again, you need yourself a jar. Always weigh it. These ones weigh 450. Really handy. And then you'll get your dehydrated starter in a little pot or a little bag, just like this. You get 10 grams in here, and when you get your dehydrated starter, it's ever so slightly different to the fresh starter, and the difference between the two is the fresh starter needs to be fed straight away, and you could probably bake a loaf the same day, but the dehydrated starter does take a couple of days to reactivate. But if you wanted to put it to one side to come back to later, you don't have to act on it the minute it arrives through the door. Or if you wanted to post it or give it to a friend or give it as a gift or something, that's when it comes in really, really handy. So we zero the scales, and then we put in, this time we're putting in 50 grams of water and 25 grams of flour. Now the reason we're doing that is because of course all the water has been removed from the starter here. So the very first feed, we just need to rehydrate it. So I'm going to put in 50 grams of water. Now you will get, before I move on, you will get these instructions. So this one comes with the fresh starter, and then on the back of the dehydrated you get the instructions on there as well. So we just put that in there, 50 grams, and then we put in 25 grams of flour. It just gives the starter a little opportunity to come back hydrated again, but that's the only time that we really do that, just that very first go. So we then give that a really, really good stir up, and again put it somewhere nice and warm. Now you will find that when you use the dehydrated starter for the first time, you will end up with all of these lumps in there. I don't know if you can see them. That's fine, they will dissolve. So put it somewhere warm, leave it a day, and then the next step of this one is then to discard it. It's all written on here. Discard it and leave 25 grams of starter in the jar, and then feed it with 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water. And from then on, you can feed it any which way you like, depending on whether you're baking with it or whether it's just a daily maintenance feed. And again, come back for some more videos on that. And if you've got any questions about what to do with a starter, if you're brand new at making sourdough, if you're completely confused, do drop your messages in the comments and we shall see if we can help you, because I don't want anybody to feel like sourdough is too scary or too advanced for them, because I promise you, everybody can have a go at this. It's very simple. It's just a couple of little things to get your head round, and once you understand those, you can make absolutely beautiful sourdough bread.